Hi everyone, the Teza is here again on another edition of Called Out, where I share my transformational journey, how the Holy Spirit has helped me, still helping me, I'm hoping that you will be able to help someone as well.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Today's episode, I am going to be sharing how God saved me or delivered me from masturbation and sexual immoralities. So I'm going to start from the masturbation experience. So this started when I was way younger. But I just noticed that I started doing this thing. I wasn't touching myself. I wasn't doing any of that. But I would just cluster my thighs. I would like cluster it together. I would cluster so much that I would now derive pleasure from that. Actually, I didn't even know that it was masturbation. I didn't know. I just thought, when I do this thing, maybe when I watch a movie and there's a sexual scene and then I put my thighs together, like just cluster, then I would just have this relief, this pleasure and all that. So that went on for a very long time. It stopped and it came back again, stopped, came back again. Until I became older. When I was 24, I traveled to the UK. And there's something I'd always known right from when I became mature and when I was able to understand sexual purity. I just knew that there was something about me that I'm supposed to keep my body. And I'd moved from London to Manchester, and I remember this particular day was a Sunday service. I just moved to Manchester, and I went for a meeting, and then this prophet came. And the prophet, called me out. Then he gave me a prophetic word. Gave me a Bible. He told me to hold the Bible. And then it was like, I can say that you're a prophet, and God is going to use you mightily. But people should pray for her, like for me, that this Bible would not fall. Honestly, looking back, I wish the prophet told me in a more simpler terms, like, auntie, keep your body. If you do this to your body, and then just stuff like that, but not that the Bible will not drop, because eventually the Bible dropped, and it dropped as a result of sexual immorality. So it did drop. I didn't understand. I was confused because I'm like, which one is Bible dropping? Few weeks to that time. See this devil. I think it wasn't even up to 3 weeks after that. After that meeting, I got reconnected with anyone I'd worked with briefly when I was in London, and we reconnected. So this guy moved to Manchester because I was in Manchester as well. So we reconnected in Manchester. And this guy, I remember the first time I saw him, I was immediately attracted to him. And when the devil wants to catch you, he will give you your tailor-made temptation. It's only God that can indeed say. We got talking, we went out, and then we went back over to his place, and then he kissed me. And that someone that I liked before, of course I responded. And then I told him, like, no, I'm a virgin, I'm gonna keep my body, I don't want to do this and all that. And I thought he understood. So that went on for just a short while, and then eventually one day like that, one day, somehow, unless I can't explain how it happened, we had sex. That was how that my sexual purity got broken. And that day I felt, in fact, it's so interesting because I've heard so much stories about, your first time, how you would, bleed and all that, but I think I don't really bleed. So I just went to the bathroom. I just bled a bit. And then, of course, it didn't see all those drama, just bleeding on the bed. It thought like, I was lying. So that really hurt me. I didn't want to do this thing. Eventually, somehow we got to do it, and now you're not saying that I'm lying. So because of that, my first experience, in fact, it made me not to enjoy sex at all for a very long time, because it wasn't a good experience for me. Because it was your first experience, you might get attached to that person. So even though it wasn't a nice experience for me, I didn't really enjoy it. But because this person had opened me up, I was kind of getting attached to this person. So it kind of continued. The way I satisfy myself is just clip my thighs together, and then I get this pleasure. I get even at this time, I still didn't know that it was masturbation. I still didn't know. So that went on for like a few months. That December, the same year, December, it came to Nigeria. A few weeks later, it came back to the UK, and by the time it came back, something was different about me. In fact, I can't explain why or what, but something had with me I just feel like, no, this is not right. I'm not supposed to be doing this. And that's the thing with me. Regardless of how much I tend to go astray, I always have my prodigal son moment where I'll be like, I don't belong here. And for me, that's just God's mercy, because no matter how orikuku that I've gone, there's always a time in my life that, you know, that song that said, mercy said no. I always have that moment when mercy will say that, no, girl, enough is enough, you know, you can't go any further. I mean, the first time I went to see him, that thing was heavy on me. I was just like, you kind of pretended that nothing was happening. But by the second time I went to see him, I just knew that, nah, I could not hide it. So I told him, you know what? You know, I can't do this anymore. We have to stop this. Like, I can't do it. And yeah, okay, so that was how that ended. But I didn't realize that I'd left a void in me that I needed to be filled. That maybe I needed a man to fill that void. I didn't know. You know, that first experience, it was, I mean, he had left something. He had done a damage that I didn't know.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I think like a few years later or so, I met another guy to keep my body no more, nothing. Very unserious guy, you know, told the same thing, no, I don't want my body. Eventually, we had sex, and the moment we had sex with this guy, I don't know, I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. You know, we're not meant to be together. I can't date you. You're very unserious. So I let that guy go. So that went on, and this time that I'm talking about, I was active in church. So it wasn't like, oh, I was wayward or, you know, I was backsliding to the world. I was active in church. In fact, I was part of the worship team. I would always lead people. I would lead worship. I would come on Sunday, and I'm like with all passion, like, but during the week I've done something else. So I was really, really active. I was like one of the core members in church. So I'm telling you, thank God for God's mercy, honestly. So that happened. I let that guy go. I was like, you know what? Now that I'm not in a relationship anymore, I'm not just going to keep myself, nothing. So even in that process, I was still masturbating because I'd not dealt with that sexual immorality in me. So if you think that, oh, you don't want to do some things anymore, if God has not dealt with that sexual immorality, you keep falling. You might think that, oh, you want to do it by yourself. 2 years later, met this guy. Very wonderful guy. This is my ex in the UK before I came to Nigeria. Very, very good guy. And so we met. And then of course I told him, because I always tell them my story. So I told him my story about my past, but I don't want to do it again. You know, I'm keeping my body till marriage. Good guy. He said, okay, he agreed. We managed to survive that, to keep that role for like 1 month. but in that 1 month, you know, of course, we hold each other, kiss. On this very day, cool. So that's why I see it's important. Even if you're in a relationship and then you both decided that, you know what, I'm going to keep my body, I don't want to do this. Also, don't put yourself in that situation to be stupid. I always put myself in a very foolish situations whereby even though I would say that, oh, I'm not doing this, but I always put myself in those situations whereby I will now fall. I remember I went to his house this day and, you know, no man, just talking, and then I went to change and I wore this unholy, unsaved, unrighteous, lacy lingerie. Hey! And then when I was in the UK, I had an amazing body. Right? It's not that I'm fat. You know, I had an amazing body. So I don't want to give you guys so much graphics. So of course, when the guy saw me, that was no way the guy could control himself. So there was no way. So that was how we started engaging in sexual activities. That was how we started having sex. And of course, the first day I felt bad. Oh, I didn't want to do this. If I hear. So that went on. A few months into that, I got pregnant. And I'm like, wow. And I was livid. I'm like, how could you? How could, like, you know? And there's one thing I always hold on to. I will never have a child outside wedlock. Like, it's just something that I've always wanted to do. That was number one. The number two, I was like, oh, I lie. Say, what would this one say? I said, no, I can't. In fact, before I even discussed with this guy, I already made up my mind. You know what, I'm going to get rid of this baby, and this is the first time I'm really open about it. With my family, they do know about it. So I'm not sure if they see this video. There might be a family meeting, like, babe, what is going on? But God saying I should just share this with someone. Hopefully, it will help someone. So I gotta do it. If you know you've ever done an abortion, either the female or the male, because the male too, if you know about it, you are both in it together. The video I'm gonna share it in my link, by a teaching by Tiffany Montgomery, and there are other teachers as well, whereby you have to watch it. And because during abortion, people might just think, oh, I'm just taking the baby out, but there's a lot that goes into that process. There's a lot, like it's like a covenant. It's like you murdered the child and you sacrificed it to a god called Molech. It's a long teaching, so I can't teach it. So just make sure you watch. But there's something that you have to do to release yourself from that covenant. Blood that is hanging over your head, because it's a lot of conditioning that we're still engaging in this sexual activity.
Ladies and gentlemen.
The following year, I came back to Nigeria. In fact, that Nigerian story, like how God brought me back to Nigeria, that is another story entirely. So in that process of coming back, we got engaged and all that. But somehow, she scattered, according to God's will actually. So it's scattered. I found myself in an amazing church, HICC. With HICC, I began rebuilding my journey again with God. I began rebuilding with God. It was beautiful. I joined the prayer department. I felt I was okay. I was doing well. See, when you think you are doing well, the devil will always bring your tailor-made hat. God needs to deal with every proclivity so that when the devil comes, there will be nothing inside of you that will actually buy what the devil is selling. Because by the time the devil comes, nothing is found on the inside of you. But this time, even though I'd come back to Christ, I'd been doing all the but that sexual immorality is not been dealt with. Because when I came back to Nigeria and I was church, masturbating, I wasn't doing it anymore. This guy just came into my life. Me that I was doing well, things were going fine, I was okay, I was improving, I was started talking and things like that. The moment I slept with this guy, see, that's what that thing about soul tie is so true. It is very, very true. You have to be careful because you don't know the soul of the person you're sleeping with. If it entangles with your soul, you don't know what the person is carrying. It is okay. Like everything I achieved just went boom. Even my presentation became horrible. I didn't even notice on time that it was because of my intercourse with this guy that this thing was happening. It was later. And this thing took years for God to deliver me, for hook up with that guy. So many things that what I was doing, this sexual immorality did to me, devoid. It made me to be naive. It made me to have low self-esteem. So many things that, like I said, there was a void that I thought I needed to fill. Even though I would go back to God, but I just feel like something. As once a guy comes into my life like this, everything will just turn around. A few months later, I met this guy. We became friends. It even came when I was really hurting because I was struggling with work. So it came in when I was really vulnerable. When I needed someone. So it came in. We became friends, and from there, we kind of started liking each other. Well, that's what I thought. I now told him, I said, you know what, if you're going to be together, this is it, I'm going to give my body. I don't know why it's always 1 month. There's something about 1 month. I don't know why it's always 1 month. Like, so I went to his house, I went to sleep over at his house, and then, we had an argument, and after the argument, in between arguments, we started kissing, and then that was how we started our sexual relationship, and I was with this guy for almost 3 years. But even in the midst of this journey, I was still masturbating. I was involved in sexual activities. I wasn't satisfied, so I would always do this thing to get the pleasure, or either when I'm feeling horny or when we have sex and then I don't feel satisfied. Like I always tell everybody, say 2020, it was my year. 2020 was my year of everything because that was when I got introduced to the Holy Spirit. And I said that I always have my prodigal moment. I always have it. Mercy will always say no on my behalf, like, girl, you have to come back. So I remember like months before I broke up with my ex, I don't want to do this thing again. Like it's not right. And then a few months later, I broke up. And then in 2020, Holy Spirit that was when my transformational journey began. What I noticed was that whenever I'm in a relationship, that is when I would get involved in sexual immorality. So I remember I was just having a conversation with the Holy Spirit. I said, God, dealing with this thing, like this is something you have to help me. While I'm waiting, I said, God, hide me. And that day I just got tired because it was like there's a void. I have an understanding of that. There's something about me keeping my body for the Lord. There's something attached to that I needed to guide and guard jealously. So I said, God, hide me, please. That the only person that will be able to recognize me when the time comes is the man that you have for me. That man that you have for me is the only. All other guys can admire me, but please don't let them come close. Help me deal with this thing. And even while you are dealing with it, Lord, hide me, so that I don't expose myself. And I tell you, it's been 4 years. And we had the guy, ask me out. I've only had the guy tell me that, oh, babe, or admire me or stuff like that. And for me, I don't see it as, oh, I have a problem. I'm beautiful. Like, the glory of the Lord shines on me day in, day out. So you cannot see me and not say that, wow, this is the beauty, and not just the beauty of the world, it's the beauty of the Lord. You get it? I see it as a problem. That, oh, I have a problem, people are not approaching me. I know the Lord is doing with me. I know the prayer that I've prayed. That's how the journey started in 2020. I stumbled on like an article, and this article was explaining different ways how people masturbate. And then I read that this thing that I've always been doing, like that's one of the ways female masturbate. I see you, so that's what I've been doing. I didn't even know. I said, Lord. So at that time, I summoned the courage. I reached out to one of my leaders, told to him that, oh, this is what has been happening, this is what I've done in the past, this is what I've been struggling with. He didn't judge me, he prayed with me, and as if he was working on me and helping me. Yes, I wasn't involved in sexual immorality anymore because I wasn't in a relationship. Remember, God has hidden me. My body is just doing anyhow. I masturbate even after I knew that it was masturbation. It's something I have control. So I do it, or sometimes I'm going to hold myself like no, or sometimes that I knew, like I never gave up on the Holy Spirit. Like this thing needs to stop. Like I can't go on doing this thing anymore. Like this needs to stop. And should you know what I tell you, looking back, I cannot say that, oh, this was when I stopped. As in, I just found myself not doing it anymore. Like I could not find my way back to that place. So even now, maybe I stumble across anything sexual, anything provocative online, I just close it. I was just joking with the Holy Spirit. I said it looks as if my sexual cells are dead. This, right? Like I can't feel anything. So I've not been able to find my way back to that place. God just helped me. It just helped me because I was able, by the help of the Holy Spirit, to come to a place and say that, God, this has to stop. I can't keep, because there was a void. And to me, I didn't know that it's only God that could fill that void. It's not a man or even any pleasure that I tend to derive from myself. It is God. So I'm just encouraging you today, even as you watch me right now, even you know that God can help you. God has helped me. As in, I am a living testimony that it is possible. I don't care how far you've gone. I don't care what you've done. As it doesn't matter at all. Like God can help you. And I remember then, one time, even when I was going through this journey, I think in 2021, I had a dream.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And in that dream, it was like God was asking me to do things. But every time I come to Him, it's always like this. It's always like this. As in, this happened 3 times. God will say that, I'm like, okay. As in, I'll come back and I'll give different excuses like God, but God is always like this. Open arms. And right now, even as you're watching me, He is like this. Just come. It doesn't matter. Come as you are. The Holy Spirit is the agent of transformation. It's the only one that can help you. Even just pray that even as you are watching me right now, that the Holy Spirit comes through for you. That indeed you have an encounter with Jesus. That you have an encounter with the Holy Spirit who is able to transform. That you will not be able to find your way back to those things anymore. Even if it's homosexuality, God can deliver you. He can save you. It is possible. The Lord did it with me, for me. So it is possible for Him to save you and deliver you. I am a living testimony. I am a living witness that He can do it. He can do it. Just man. Thank you for watching.